Okay, so let me now shift from being a chair of a panel to try to take the tradition to conclude this conference. I'm sorry if I'm going to be a little disorganized, but I was trying to take some notes and to think about some main takeaways of a very interesting day with a lot of insight from many speakers. First, let me, on behalf of the Reinventing Bretton Committee, to thank first our host, the Central Bank of Mongolia, Governor, all the staff for their gracious hospitality that brings again and show concretely what being in Mongolia is not just about space, but it's also about hospitality and a lot of warmers coming from
The recording has stopped.
Many people. So today, we gather to discuss the global economy in the age of supply shocks. And over the full day, it is very clear what we are facing is not just a turbulent phase, but a structural transformation of the global order in a period of uncertainties. I think one of the speakers at the beginning this morning mentioned that we are living in a new global trading order and a major realignment of supply chains. And indeed, we are looking at how supply chains are going to shift and globalization itself is being redefined. Trade shock, tariff barriers, strategic decoupling are fragmenting the rule-based order that we once took for granted. And Asia, indeed, is at the epicenter of this transformation. As some of speakers mentioned this morning, the rise of economic security policies, reshoring, friendly shoring is reshaping investment decisions. And that raised some important questions. Can regional framework that our colleague from the Asian Development Bank mentioned today, like RCEP, can provide enough economic cohesion to buffer external shocks? And can Asia maintain competitiveness while becoming more self-reliant? And the answer we hear lies in maybe deepening regional integrations, deepening regional cooperation to share infrastructure, industrial policy, and financial safety net. And in a world of fragmented global rules, regional resilience is no longer optional, it is going to become vital. We shifted from trade and discussions about trade war tariff to monetary policy in the years of supply shocks. And here we explore many dilemmas that central banks were facing, from climate event to geopolitical fracture, trade tension. We are no longer adjusting policy in a vacuum, but in a fractured and stable global landscape. And some policymakers emphasize the downward effect on inflation from lower demand that are going to be offset by the persistent supply shocks. In this environment, and I will quote here Christine Lagarde, a central bank must not only be vigilant, but it also must be agile. The ECB data-driven approach reflects a fundamental truth. In time of global uncertainty, flexibility is credibility. Okay? Tariff, energy shock, geopolitical fragmentation are not short-term disturbances. They are going to be part of a structural shift in the global economy. We heard also about fiscal resilience, sovereign wealth fund, and here we saw that countries like Mongolia, resource countries, fiscal policy and the strategic use of sovereign wealth fund can be central to smoothing volatility and enabling structural transformation. So sovereign wealth funds are not buffer, they're also strategic levers. They must balance short-term stabilization with long-term diversification. And our speaker during lunchtime mentioned emerging markets were very resilient during COVID due to an important policy framework, an important toolkit, inflation targeting, strong monetary policy framework, important buffer like a huge amount of reserve. But at the end, this anchoring of resilience was maybe not enough because we saw a lot of persistence of output loss in emerging markets. And here's the big question, is it permanent? Is it temporary? And that was, I think, something that came all along during the day. The first session tackled perhaps the most disruptive force, the rise of AI and the green transition. This shift will transform labor market, redefine productivity, and reshape inequality. One of the speakers noted technological evolution, it is a social and institutional challenges. We discussed the policy required, upskilling, active labor market program, new safety net, And if it is well governed, this transition can deliver more dynamic and inclusive economy. If it is mismanaged, they will risk dislocation and division. We tackle a little the issue of central bank digital currency, stable coin, digital finance, and some of questions that came to my mind. How will central bank will maintain control in a decentralized environment? How emerging markets themselves can harness fintech for inclusion while managing volatility? And will cross-border payment become cheaper, faster, in a more fragmented and politicized environment? And at the end, we discuss, indeed, the multilateral order and how this multilateral order will be redefined. With rising protectionism, weaponization of interdependence, diminishing global coordination, we may be entering a post-globalization world, but no one knows what is going to be replaced. Professor Shurai pointed out the risk of strategic bifurcation where financial systems evolve into separate blocks with competing standards, and they will challenge the global role of reserve currency and reduce the effectiveness of global financial safety net. Let me look at Marie's presentation, and she reminded us in her book, Les Hordes, the Mongol Empire was not only a military force, it was quite adaptive and decentralized system of governance. It sustained vast network of commerce, diplomacy, and mobility. And the Mongols developed institutions to manage diversity, finance their state through mobile tax regime, and ensure that trade and information could flow across immense distances. It was an early form of nomadic globalization, resilient, connected, and very fluid. So let me conclude with one Mongol proverb that tells us, without the cooperation of many, even the Khan cannot erect a single yacht. So this all wisdom will remind us that cooperation is a foundation of resilience for the global economy. For modern Mongolia, facing a volatile global landscape and a small and resource-rich nation, this legacy is not more than heritage. It is a strategic compass, a reminder that openness, adaptability, and trusted network are not weakness, but strength. In this way, the past offers us inspiration for the future. Thank you very much, and looking forward to seeing you tonight.